Find the domain of x plus 3 over the square root of x minus 5. Give your answer in interval notation. When finding the domain, there are two rules that we're going to use in this function here. The two rules are that if you have a square root of something, then that thing has to be greater than or equal to 0. And the other rule is that if you are dividing by something, then that thing cannot be 0. So I'm going to start with the division. We are dividing by the square root of x minus 5. Because we're dividing by that, that cannot equal 0. And then we get x by itself. So if I square both sides, I get that x minus 5 cannot equal 0. And then add 5 to both sides, and we get that x cannot equal 5. Okay, so that's one rule of my domain. I know that my domain cannot include 5. The next rule I'm going to use is that since I'm taking the square root of x minus 5, that means that x minus 5 has to be greater than or equal to 0. Okay, because I can't do a square root of a negative number. So x minus 5 has to be greater than or equal to 0. Again, add both 5 to both sides. And I get that x must be greater than or equal to 5. Now, for my domain, I know that I need both of these to be true. Okay, so if I need x to be greater than or equal to 5, and x cannot equal 5, the overlap then is that x has to be strictly greater than 5. Now I'm actually going to draw a little picture of this because it tends to be, I think, easier for students to see it visually. So I like to do these on a number line. And I'm just on my number line, I'm just going to label my important points, which in this case is just 5. Kind of everything revolves around 5. And for this rule here, x cannot equal 5, that just tells me that I have to have a whole at 5. Okay. And so this rule tells I have a whole at 5, but I could be anything else based on just that one rule. Okay. This next rule is that x is greater than or equal to 5. That means I'd have a filled in thing right there and greater than or equal to, so I'd go to the right. All right. And these are just visual representations of what these rules are telling me. And then for my domain, I need the overlap of these two. Okay. So overlap doesn't occur until after 5, because at 5 I still don't have, I have a hole here, but after 5 it works out. And so I know that x needs to be strictly greater than 5. And finally, we want our answer in interval notation. So that means we put our smallest number, which is a 5, and we're going up forever, so that we're going up to infinity. And because we cannot equal 5, we put a parentheses there. And then infinity is not actually even a number, so we can't equal that either, so we put parentheses. Okay, if you can include it, you put a square bracket. So this here is our domain in interval notation.